Let's get to it.
All right. Lightyear is a
Jesus Christ, what's happening?
Sorry about that.
That was jarring.
Mark that. I'll lower my volume.
I might check it. I might have to check it.
Thanks, Brady, for setting us up. Lightyear is a 2023 film directed by Angus MacLean. Yeah. This is his solo directing debut. He co-directed Finding Dory. It stars the voice talents of Chris Evans, Kiki Palmer, Taika Waititi, Dale Souls, Peter Sohn, and James Brolin. 77% of Rotten Tomatoes. I guess I wrote this down before hearing Brady go nuts, but I'm actually I find it kind of astounding that 23% of professional movie reviewers would give this a negative review. Like, I don't think this is by any means a great movie, but I think it's a good movie.
What is the
77? I mean, 23%.
Oh, you're astounded by that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm surprised. I don't think I have a hard time seeing how this is, in anyone's opinion, especially their professional opinion, a bad movie. Like I said, not great, certainly not bad.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and it gets tough when especially when dealing with Pixar, because you know you're going to get at least a passable movie.
Sub question: are we holding Pixar to an unreasonably high standard? If this was a DreamWorks animation film, I imagine the response would be higher.
Interesting. I think you might be right, and I think
Pixar produces pretty high quality content.
I think that they should be held to a high standard because they kind of set the standard for what others kind of try to attain. Now, that's one more reason why Rotten Tomatoes is not my. I didn't even know what the score was. I have no idea, and I'm glad that you're praying at the altar.
I was studying.
To let me know. Here's the problem with Lightyear, and it's shocking that it got to the completion level with no one saying, "Hey, we need to take this thing down off the rack, take it or put it up on the rack, take it all apart, and
pull parts out."
This thing needed lots of reworking, and it occurred to me, 15 minutes in, like, who is this movie for? Because, like Brady said, like, there were a lot of opportunities. It was a missed opportunities. I kept hearing that in my head. This is a missed opportunity. They had so much, just a blank canvas for what made Andy excited about Lightyear to begin with back in 1995. It was, and I was doing that in my head a little bit, like, this is supposed to be a movie from the past about the future, like a future that's still way future from where we sit here. What is it? 27 years ago is like, so I guess this movie is supposed to
1995-ish.
Yeah. Like, the movie probably came out for Andy in that universe, in the Toy Story universe, probably 93, maybe 94, maybe that
makes sense.
And
because Buzz was the cool new toy.
There were so many things that they could have done that would have been clever, and you come to expect clever things from Pixar, and there was just no cleverness to be had here.
There was.
The cat had a few good lines. Taiki had a couple good lines, I guess, as you'd imagine.
No pun intended, speaking of the cat. I guess we're splitting hairs. I found some cleverness in there, but I think we're ultimately saying the same thing, which is this could have been really good.
Yeah, I mean, you expect it to be really good coming from Pixar. And I had the same feeling, and you're going to give me some blowback here, but about Red Panda. Like, I didn't think Red Panda was anything special. Turning Red. I thought that felt like kind of like an elevated DreamWorks, not a Pixar. It's a low-ranking Pixar. But I
disagree.
This is interesting. And I blame one person for the failure of this movie and for the concept that they tried to run with.
Tim Allen.
No, I'm so tired of people going, yeah, Tim Allen got canceled.
Such a lazy,
He shouldn't even be in it.
Yeah. Why would he have anything to do with this?
I mean, sometimes they use the actual voice of the actor in the toy, but a lot of time they don't, right?
You're right.
Yeah. So the problem with the movie, and it was ruined by one Stanley Kubrick.
Go on.
So I feel like the writers that were involved in this, and I'm not naming names. I don't even like to, when I talk badly about movies, I don't like to name the names, but it seems to me that they were more interested in making something almost an homage at times to 2001, and they were so geared, and there were so many 2001 references in this thing from beginning to end, and that's not what this new movie needed to be. It needed to be something like what we've come to expect from Pixar, which is something that the kids could definitely glom onto and enjoy on one level, and that could be clever enough and adult enough for us to be involved. And it was old, hashed out theories about time travel that we've all seen before, and where they actually go with Zurg, which I don't even feel comfortable talking about because it's towards the end of the movie, was just a total letdown, and it kind of ruins everything that I know about Toy Story.
It was a big leap and didn't quite land like they wanted it.
My
to.
5-year-old wasn't enjoying it. He was bored. My wife,
he never made it through a movie.
yeah, he does. My wife was bored to tears because I mean, there's nothing challenging there, and
we all enjoyed it.
Like, who is it? You have opportunity for like crazy aliens and a crazy backstory for Zurg, and they went the 2001 route, which kids are not going to appreciate. I didn't appreciate it, and I'm a giant Kubrick nerd.
Right. It falls in between those who don't know and those who know it too well.
Yeah. Who's this for? Like, they didn't do the formula. Like, Pixar movies are incredibly formulaic in the best possible way, where they're thinking about the youngest kid in the audience and the oldest person in the audience, and they make it work for both. And I feel like this one didn't work for either. Yes, it's a passable 3-star movie, but Pixar shouldn't be making 3-star movies.
That's a fair criticism. It's there are good things about it. I thought it had a sort of similar kinetic energy to remember the parts of Finding Dory, especially that third act where it's just nonstop action and there's craziness happening and animals ending up where animals should not end up. I found it similar to that in certain parts, but at the same time, you're right, missed opportunities.
And the stakes were all... It's a problem with all movies, really, where like you know what's going to happen, you know what has to happen, so it doesn't really matter that there's peril because the peril's not earned or real or
Socks was pretty great though.
Socks was great. Some of his lines were a little bit too predictable or asked for too many laughs, I think.
Well, Socks, I think, was in a weird way, an important part of the movie because that movie would have really been dry without him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was Taika Waititi. Oh God, I'm so bad with his name.
Taika Waititi.
Okay.
You're bad. You're good with directors' names, though.
He's a director, though.
I know. That's why I'm making a fool out of him.
Hunt for the Wilder People. And he's more of an actor.
He's not.
But he had a couple good lines, and the cast was like okay. I guess they were kind of cute, but they weren't what you'd expect. There's something else I wanted to say about this movie.
Let me see. I wrote down it might be in the bottom half of Pixar movies, but it's a fun adventure.
Oh, here's the thing. So going back to how they tied this in, and it is definitely the snake eating its tail, but that's okay if they can get clever and creative with it, which they didn't here. If this movie came out in 1994 or 1995, why was Andy such a little prick that he didn't give a shit about any of the other characters? He never once mentions any of the other characters. Obviously, it'd be hard to do that, but you should have taken what Andy had to work with, that 95 movie, and built around it. Instead, they pushed in all their stuff with the stuff that's going on right now, which is fine, but like, there's no way that there's a lesbian character in a children's movie in 1994. That's just not happening. There's no way that there's all these other characters and the ancillary characters and the cat, and Andy never even mentions them.
Yeah, I mean, especially Socks is really the one that breaks the camel's back because the rest of them, you're like, all right, fine. He was into Buzz. That's the cool one. That's the star, whatever. But like Socks would have been like a fun toy to incorporate.
Throw me a bone. Throw me something about like maybe they could have talked about merchandising and like he was the only one that was going to be merchandised or something because of this or that. Or there could have been some fun little line, throwaway line that could have sustained my my anger. Right?
Perhaps Socks or one of the others makes an appearance in Toy Story 5.
I'm sure they will because so anyways, for those of you who might not be following along or didn't see this movie, and you don't have to see this movie. I'm kind of ashamed that I saw this and not Cha-Cha Real Smooth, but Socks is his little robot companion that the Starfleet, I guess, assigned to him at one point.
Right.
I'm really disappointed.
It's a blatant attempt to sell toys and stuffies and all that stuff, but it did help the movie.
How do you feel about Zurg? And without giving anything away, like, did that upset you the way it upset me?
I told you. Well, I thought the way I told you. I thought the movie took a big leap right there, like almost not the same in narrative, but the same in tone. Where remember the Lego movie took a really big leap right there in the third act, and you're like,
well, that worked.
It worked. This movie takes a leap that is, I guess, of similar consequence, and it's like, oh, how's this going to go? And it was just whatever.
But as far as the legacy goes and everything else, and if Andy's obsessed, once again, if he's obsessed with Lightyear and this movie, and he has the new toy, which is the shit, and Zurg, like, there's never any mention of how that story actually goes.
Sure, but I mean, Zurg comes up many times in the Toy Story canon.
But Andy, when he's doing the whole role playing and the back and forth, that there's the actual it was ill-conceived, and it didn't have to be. There could have been real fucking aliens, not real aliens, but there could have been cool aliens and threats, and instead they tried to get heady, and it wasn't heady. That's the worst part.
They were living on a foreign planet far away. There could be any number of things.
Vines that go around your leg.
Sadly, that kind of went away.
I'm glad that went away because then they use them as jokes. This movie makes me mad the more I talk about it and think about it. All right, let's move on.
Could have been so much better.